this is Jill from Paper Daisy Crafting. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK. My job is to show you how to make beautiful paper craft projects using Stampin' Up products. And today I'm going to show you a technique that you can use for getting multicoloured images from rubber stamps. Of course, what happens normally, you take your rubber stamp, which is this one, you put it in a stamp pad and you stamp it and you get an image that's all the same colour. But I'm going to show you today how to stamp and get multicoloured images. And so what we need to do is we're going to start with the card blank. Here I've got a half sheet of A4, so it was an A4 sheet that I've trimmed down to half at about 50, just under 15, and then I'm going to take my trimmer and I'm going to line up this edge with the 10.5 mark here, 10.5 centimetres. If you're working in inches, it's at 4 1/8, so that's that mark there. So it works either way. And then use the scoring blade, which is the lighter one of the two brown. There's a dark brown one which is a cutting blade. This is your scoring blade, and just score there. And that should give you a nice card blank. So you fold along the score line, and depending how accurately you've got your fold, it should give you a perfect, so that's actually perfect. Doesn't always work like that if you're not quite so accurate. But so my card blank measures 10.5 by just under 15. And on this one, I used a piece of paper that is from the Whimsical, I can't remember what the paper's called, just give me a second to find the catalogue. It goes with the Whimsy and Wonder suite, but the paper is called Whimsy and Wonder. There we go. It's called Whimsy and Wonder. And this is one of the sheets that's in polished pink. And so I used that as the colours for my card. I wanted a plainish background so that this stamp was really highlighted. And so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this lovely gingham, which is from Pansy Petals, and I want to have a very small border. Now this is about 3 millimeters all the way around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my piece of paper, and I hope this is going to work. So my card blank actually measures 14.7 centimeters. So I am going to cut this at 14.1. so that I've got a 3 centimeter border all the way around. So it's 6 millimeters smaller than my card blank. And cut that. And then I'm going to turn this round, and it's at 10. My card blank measures 10.5, so I'm going to cut this at 9.9. Now, you don't have to do that. You can do it in 0.5 centimeters if you want. You get a slightly smaller border. But I quite like that 3 millimeter border, and it's just a case of subtracting 0.6 of a centimetre away from your measurements, or if you're working in inches, probably 1/4 inch would be the same. So that's not my card blank. There we go, here's my card blank. That should layer on there. Oh, look how perfectly that layers. Yeah, brilliant. With just a bit of a border around it. Right, so I'm going to find my Tombow, which I forgot to get out before I came on here. Quickly find my Tombow, which is hiding. Oh, not there. Oh, just give me a minute. Where has it gone? Have I not put it away in the right drawer last time? Oh, oh, there it is. There it is. So just bring in my jar with a little bit of damp cotton wool. It isn't very damp, so I'm just going to add a little bit more moisture to that. It's been sitting there a little while, so just add a little bit of moisture to that to get it damp. And then I place my Tombow upside down in there, and that means that the glue is always at the tip, and that this tip is not going to dry out and get blocked because it's just on a little moist thing. What can happen when you've just moistened it like I have, it can directly suck the water up. So you just need to check as you start that you've got nice glue coming out. Yes, I have, rather than a bit of water. So just check that. So I'm just going to start by just gluing down this panel. I love this pattern on the back. I'm quite sad to be losing that, but I could have done it that way actually. That would have looked quite nice. Actually, I'm thinking I would have preferred that now. Hey ho, too late. I've got glue all over this side now. Maybe I'll make another one with that pattern. I do love it, but I do love the ginghams as well. I think this Pansy Petals is such good value for money. I think I love all the sheets. So and I've already used up one pack. I'm on my second pack now, and considering we're not even halfway through the annual catalogue, I dread to think how many more packs I'm going to use before the end. Right, so that's basically our card blank done. So that's all you need to do. So I'm just going to put that to one side while we work on the sentiment. So the sentiment, like I said, is multicoloured, and the way we're going to achieve that is by using stamping markers. Now our stamping markers are water based. They're not alcohol based. You cannot use our stamping blends, which are alcohol markers, for this, so please do make the distinction. You cannot use our stamping blends markers for this. You need to use Stampin Write markers. Can you see that? Stampin Write markers. These are water-based pens and they will work perfectly. They work better on red rubber, so this is perfect. And I am going to start with, what colour am I going to start? I'm going to start with polished pink today. So I'm going to start with the brush tip on its side, and I'm going to cover all the bit of the rubber that says wishing. So it just takes a little bit of time doing this. It's obviously not as quick as just putting it on one stamp pad and stamping, but it does give you a gorgeous effect. And images like this sentiment particularly works really well with this multicoloured effect. It's a really good technique to have in your arsenal. Right, so I've covered all of that. Now it will dry, but we're going to sort that as we come to the end, so don't worry about that. Okay, I'm then going to use, so I'm using all the in colours, or some of the in colours today. We're going to use Soft Succulent to do the wishing you the, so this is the you the in Soft Succulent. So just cover all of those letters using the side of your blends pen. I'm then going to use Fresh Freesia to do happiest. Now this is the key colour of our card, it's the background colour, so I wanted that to be in the centre to highlight it really well. So that's why I'm doing it. So this is happiest I'm doing. Like I said, it's time consuming doing this. You wouldn't want to be doing a huge batch of cards like this, but maybe for that special person that you want to make a very special card for, this is a great technique and really gives a good effect. Quite surprising, I think. I'm always amazed when it comes out well. There we go. And then once again, I'm going to come in with Soft Succulent. I didn't want to use Evening Evergreen, which is our other in colour, because I just thought it was a bit too dark, and these are all pastel. And then I'm coming in with Pale Papaya to do birthdays. Wishing you the happiest of birthdays. I love this sentiment. I've used it an awful lot already. I've loved this stamp set. It's been out a couple of years now, I think, at least a year and a bit. And it's one of my favourites for sentiments. Right, so my whole stamp is now done. I'm hoping that's going to work okay. Like I said, it's not. I'm just going to go over this one a little bit. It just looks like that might have dried, but actually it's okay. And maybe just quickly back over the pink a little bit, just because that was the first one we did. So just very quickly going over that again. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to get a piece of white card, which I've forgotten to get out, so give me a minute. Let's find a piece of white card. Here we go. And we're going to huff on this. And that will just make sure the stamp is damp. And then we just stamp. Give it a good push. And there we are. Perfect. Oh, I'm quite pleased with how that's turned out. Yep, brilliant. So you can see lots and lots of different colours. from one image. Really good. And it, like I say, it works a lot better with red rubber. It's quite difficult to do it, I find, on photopolymer. You can do it, but I find it quite difficult. I prefer to do it on red rubber. It's got a bit more substance to sort of really get the marker on the rubber. Right, so we are going to cut this down. Oh, I'll do it on my trimmer just because I know you don't all have access to the little choppers, which is such a shame. I wish Stampin' Up would bring them back to buy because they were so great. Okay, so we're going to trim this down. Don't want my scoring blade, I want my cutting blade. There we go. So we're just trimming around the sentiment. Like so. And then one more side. Like so. So there's our sentiment. Brilliant. And because some of you know, when you use the trimmer, you get a sort of lip because it presses down. So I like to just go round my cardstock and just use my bone folder to press out those lips, just so that you get a nice clean edge. Okay, so you can see from here, the only thing we need to do, this is kind of wide, a bit wider than the other one. I could trim a little bit more off there. Maybe we will. We'll just trim a little bit more off the sides. I just like the shape of that one. Quite so just go back in, just trim a little bit more off each side of this, just to make it a bit taller and thinner. There we go. And once again, just bring the bone folder in. So this technique works really well with sentiments. I think it works best for sentiments, but there are probably other stamps you could use. Flowers, for example, you could do the outside petals and then the middle of the flower in a different colour, things like that. Right, and now we need to cut a mat for this sentiment. So there are two ways of doing this. You can measure it. So if we take a ruler, and this measures 6.7 centimetres by 8.4. So depending on how wide we want the border, so let's say we want the border at 3 centimetres again. This is 6.7, so I need to cut my border at 7.3. So I'm just going to write this down somewhere. 7.3 by, this is, what did I say, 8.4, so I need to cut it at 9. So I need my panel to be 7.3 by 9, I hope. Let's hope that works. Let's hope my maths, it's very early in the morning actually, so let's hope my maths is working really well. So 7.3, so there's the 7. So you need to cut 1, 2, 3. I have to admit I have to have my reading glasses on now to do these tiny measurements. Sign of growing old, I'm afraid. And then 9 by this way. And let's hope this works. So, ta-da! There we go. Perfect. That's going to layer on there. So, a little bit of Tombow again. Just check that you've not got a load of water sucked in there directly. Just only because I only just wetted the sponge or the cotton wool at the bottom there, and it just sometimes just sucks that water directly up. Once it's dissipated throughout the cotton wool, it's fine, and it'll keep damp for a couple of days. Actually, I don't wet it every day. There we go. There. And then all that's left to do is to mount this on our card blank, which is there, like so. Just beginning to think, I don't know, that might have been a bit busy. What do you think? I wanted to keep the background fairly quiet on these, just to make the greeting really sing. So there we go. And again, some of you know I just like to smooth out my glue with a cocktail stick, or a toothpick as Americans would call them, just so that the glue gets right to the edge but it's not going to squidge out. If you do the Tombow too close to the edge, then some of it will squidge out and spoil your project. Doing it like this, it doesn't do that. And that just goes there. And there we are, one very simple, but gorgeous, I think. Just make sure it's straight before you stick it down finally. You get a bit of wiggle room with the Tombow. There we are. 2 cards using the multicoloured image technique. A really nice beginner technique, I think, to give you a bit more mileage in your stamp. So I hope you'll give it a go. I'd love to see what you do if you do give it a go. If you'd like to buy this stamp set or any of the papers or cardstock or whatever that I've used, you can go down below. There's a link to my shop, and there'll also be a link to all of the products that I've used. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget, we still have Celebration on, so if you do have things that you want to buy and you spend £45, you can choose a free item. Loads of lovely, there's about 10, I think, different items that you can choose from. So that's exciting, isn't it? Anyway, that's it from me today. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed my project. Let me know if you did, and I'll be back very soon. Bye.